A hotel guest calls the front desk and the clerk answers, "May I help you, sir?" The man says, "Yes, I'm in room 858. You need to send someone to my room immediately. I'm having an argument with my wife and she says she's going to jump out of the window." The desk clerk says, "I'm sorry, sir, but that's a personal matter." The man replies, "Listen, you idiot. The window won't open, and that's clearly a maintenance issue." A man stumbles into his house early in the morning after a night of partying and heavy drinking just as the sun is coming up. His wife is waiting for him at the kitchen table, glaring at him. "Is there a reason you're coming home at 6 in the morning with alcohol on your breath, lipstick on your collar?" she shouts at him. "Yes, there is," he replies. "I would like some breakfast." An Englishman and a Jamaican find themselves side by side in a public restroom. Glancing down, they both notice the same WJ tattoo on their packages. Curious, the Jamaican asks, "Hey man, what does yours stand for?" The Englishman replies, "Oh, when things stretch out, it shows my initials, WJ. What about yours?" The Jamaican grins. "Oh, mine? When it stretches, it says, 'Welcome to Jamaica.'" A very proper businesswoman was browsing the lot of a local Mercedes dealership when one particular car caught her eye. After inspecting it for a while, she noticed the car was unlocked. She opened the door, leaned in to feel the soft leather seats, and just as she bent over, she let out a tiny fart. Being the refined businesswoman that she was, she straightened up, adjusted her suit, and quickly looked around to see if anyone had noticed. Sure enough, a salesman appeared right behind her. Trying to steer the conversation away from what just happened, she asked, "What's your best price for this model?" Without missing a beat, the salesman replied, "Well, ma'am, if you farted just by touching it, you're gonna poop when you hear the price." A 5-year-old boy was visiting his grandma, happily playing with his toys while she dusted her bedroom. Out of nowhere, he looked up and asked, "Grandma, how come you don't have a boyfriend now that Grandpa's in heaven?" Grandma smiled and said, "Sweetheart, my TV is my boyfriend. I can sit in my room and watch it all day. The religious programs make me feel good, and the comedies make me laugh. I'm happy with my TV as my boyfriend." Just then she turned on the TV, but the reception was terrible. Frustrated, she started fiddling with the knobs, tapping the back of the TV, trying to fix it. Meanwhile, the doorbell rang. The little boy ran to open the door and saw Grandma's minister standing there. The minister smiled. "Hello, young man. Is your grandma home?" The boy grinned and said, "Yeah, she's in the bedroom banging her boyfriend." The minister fainted. A young couple heads up to the mountains for a cozy, romantic winter getaway. Snow-covered trees, a charming little cabin, it's the perfect setting. As soon as they arrive, the guy decides to chop some firewood to keep them warm. After a while, he stomps back inside, rubbing his hands together. "Babe, my hands are freezing," he complains. With a sly smile, she pulls him close and purrs, "Come here, I warm them up between my legs." Feeling thoroughly encouraged, he heads out again, chops more wood, and returns with the same complaint. Again, she offers her a natural heating system. This happens a couple more times, and he's starting to enjoy firewood duty a little too much. After dinner, determined to keep them warm all night, he goes out for one final round. When he returns shivering, he holds out his hands and groans, "Honey, my hands are really freezing this time." She sighs, rolls her eyes and says, "For crying out loud, do your ears never get cold?" A young couple moved into a new neighborhood. The next morning, while they are eating breakfast, the young woman sees her neighbour hanging the wash outside. "That laundry is not very clean," she said. "She doesn't know how to wash correctly. Perhaps she needs better laundry soap." Her husband looked on, but remained silent. Every time her neighbour would hang her wash to dry, the young woman would make the same comments. About 1 month later, the woman was surprised to see a nice clean wash on the line, and said to her husband, "Look, she has learned how to wash correctly. I wonder who taught her this." The husband said, "I got up early this morning and cleaned our windows." A mother took her little boy to church. While in church, the little boy said, "Mommy, I have to pee." The mother said to the little boy, "It's not appropriate to say the word pee in church. So, from now on, whenever you have to pee, just tell me that you have to whisper." The following Sunday, the little boy went to church with his father and during the service said to his father, "Daddy, I have to whisper." The father looked at him and said, "Okay, just whisper in my ear." Two young guys appear in court after being arrested for smoking dope. The judge says, "You seem like nice young men, and I'd like to give you a second chance instead of jail time. I want you to go out this weekend and try to convince others of the evils of drug use. I'll see you back in court Monday." On Monday, the judge asked the first guy, "How did you do over the weekend?" "Well, Your Honor, I persuaded 17 people to give up drugs forever." "17 people? That's wonderful. How did you do it?" "I used a diagram, Your Honor. I drew 2 circles like this. Then I told him that the big circle is your brain before drugs, and the small circle is your brain after drugs." "That's admirable," says the judge. Then he turns to the second guy. "And how did you do?" "Well, Your Honor, I persuaded 156 people to give up drugs forever." "Wow," says the judge. 156 people? How did you manage to do that?" "Well, I used a similar diagram," the guy says. "I drew 2 circles like this. Then I pointed to the little circle and said, 'This is your asshole before prison.' So I called Joseph, the 14-year-old next door whose bedroom looks like mission control, and asked him to come over. Joseph clicked a couple of buttons and solved the problem. As he was walking away, I called after him, "So what was wrong?" He replied, "It was an ID 10T error." I didn't want to appear stupid, but nonetheless inquired, "An ID 10T error? What's that? In case I need to fix it again." Joseph grinned. "Haven't you ever heard of an ID 10T error before?" "No," I replied. "Write it down," he said, "and I think you'll figure it out." So I wrote down ID10T. I used to like that little boy. The owner tells him he has good news and bad news. The good news is that a man dropped by the studio today and put in an offer to buy every single piece. He just wanted my guarantee that the works would be worth twice what he paid if you were to pass away. I told him they would double, possibly triple, in value. So he bought them all. "Whoa," exclaims the artist. "That's fantastic. What could be the bad news?" "The guy is your doctor," the owner says. As soon as the newlyweds returned from their honeymoon, the young bride called her mother, who lived a couple of hours away. "How did everything go?" her mom asked. "Oh, Mother," she began, "the honeymoon was wonderful. So romantic. We had a terrific time. But Mother, on our way back, Andy started using really horrible language. Stuff I'd never heard before. Really terrible 4-letter words. You've got to come get me and take me home. Please, mother, the new bride sobbed over the telephone. But honey, the mother countered, what 4-letter words? I can't tell you, mother, they're too awful. Come get me, please. Darling, you must tell me what has gotten you so upset. Tell mother what 4-letter words he used. Still sobbing, the bride said, Mother, words like dust, wash, iron, cook. A man was called in for an audit by Revenue Canada. He asked his accountant for advice on what to wear. Wear your worst clothing and an old pair of shoes. Let them think you are a pauper, the accountant replied. Then he asked his lawyer the same question, but got the opposite advice. Don't let them intimidate you. Wear your best suit and an expensive tie. Confused, the man went to his minister, told him of the conflicting advice, and asked him what he should do. Let me tell you a story, replied the minister. A woman about to be married asked her mother what to wear on her wedding night. Her mother told her to wear a heavy, long flannel nightgown that goes right up to your neck and wool socks. But when she asked her best friend, she got conflicting advice. Her friend told her to wear her most revealing with a V-neck right down to her navel. The man protested. But Reverend Sir, what does all this have to do with my problem with Revenue Canada? Replied the Reverend, it doesn't matter what you wear, you're still going to get Paddy was summoned to court to appear as a witness in a lawsuit. The prosecutor opened his questioning with, Where were you the night of August 24th? Objection, said the defense attorney. Irrelevant. Oh, that's okay, said the Paddy from the witness stand. I don't mind answering the question. I object, the defense said again. No, really, said the Paddy. I'll answer. The judge ruled, if the witness insists on answering, there is no reason for the defense to object. So the prosecutor repeated the question. Where were you the night of August 24th? Paddy replied brightly, I don't know. A man walks into a bar and sees his friend sitting beside a 12-inch pianist. He says to his friend, That's amazing. How did you get that? The man pulls out a bottle and tells him to rub it and make a wish. He rubs the bottle and a puff of smoke pops out and tells him that he can have one wish. So the man thinks and says, I wish I had $1,000,000. The genie says, Okay, go outside and your wish will be granted. The man goes outside, but all he finds are ducks filling the sky and roads. He goes back in and tells his friend what happened, and his friend replies, I know. Did you really think I wanted a 12-inch pianist? While trying to avoid hitting a dog, I lost control of my two-wheeler and tumbled into a ditch by the side of the road. Struggling to crawl out, I was relieved when a beautiful woman stopped her car and rushed to help me. Are you okay? She asked with genuine concern. I think so, I replied, brushing the dirt off as I stood up. She smiled warmly and said, Come, get in my car. My place is just a few blocks away. You can clean up there and I'll make sure you're not hurt. That's very kind of you, I said hesitantly, but I'm not sure my wife would like that. Oh, don't be silly, I'm a nurse, she insisted. I need to check for injuries and treat them properly. She was both persuasive and kind, so I finally agreed. Though I added, I still think my wife won't be happy about this. At her place, she helped me clean up and carefully examined me to ensure I wasn't seriously injured. Afterwards, she offered me a drink. We ended up having a couple of drinks, but the guilt started weighing on me. Finally, I said, I feel much better now, but I should really go. My wife is going to be furious. She laughed and reassured me, Don't worry. Stay a little longer. She won't find out. She's probably waiting for you at home, right? I hesitated for a moment before replying, well, not exactly. She's still in the ditch. A man, completely drunk, stumbles up to a fairground rifle booth and slaps down his money. The booth operator hesitates. Sir, in your state, I can't let you shoot. It's dangerous. But the drunk insists. So the operator reluctantly hands him a rifle. The man wobbles, tries to focus, and fires 3 shots. When the booth operator checks the target, he's stunned. 3 bullseyes. The grand prize is a 68-piece glassware set, but thinking the drunk has no clue what's happening, the operator hands him a consolation prize, a turtle. The drunk stares at it, nods, and stumbles away. An hour later, he comes back even drunker. He insists on another round, fires 3 shots, and bullseye, 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 another turtle. A while later, he returns yet again, barely able to stand. Same routine, same result, 3 bullseyes. This time an onlooker notices. That's incredible, he hit the bullseye 3 times, that is. The booth operator, now out of luck, sighs and says, Sir, you've won the grand prize. A beautiful 68-piece glassware set. The drunk squints at him and slurs, glassware. I don't want any bloody glasses. Just give me another one of those crusty meat pies. My wife and I were in the middle of a heated argument when I snapped, pack your things and... Before I could finish, her phone rang. She put it on speaker. It was her father. After the usual pleasantries, he said, My daughter, I just transferred $6 million into your account. Give your husband $4 million, and you can keep the rest. Then he added, Also, I'm sending a brand new Land Cruiser for you two to use. The call ended. My wife turned to me, arms crossed. You were saying... I cleared my throat, smiled and said, I said pack your things and give them to me to wash. I'll even iron them once the power comes back. A guy applies for a job at the post office. The interviewer asks, Are you allergic to anything? Yes, caffeine. I can't drink coffee. Got it. Ever served in the military? Yes, 1 tour in Afghanistan. That gives you 5 extra points toward hiring. Any disabilities? Yeah, a bomb exploded near me, and I lost both my testicles. The interviewer winces, but says, All right, you've got enough points. I can hire you right now. Our hours are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. You start tomorrow at 10. The guy frowns. If work starts at 8, why am I coming in at 10? The interviewer leans back and shrugs. This is a government job. For the first 2 hours, we just stand around drinking coffee and scratching our balls. No point in you coming in for that. We got a young puppy ATM, and myself and wife usually get up at same time early each morning to sort her out. As she hasn't seen us for a few hours as she sleeps downstairs with cats, she gets excited and clingy first thing. So one of us will pander to her, while other will make coffee, etc. This morning, my wife woke us both up, and I went to bathroom, half asleep and bleary-eyed. When I got downstairs, she was there, ready with the tongue lashing, stating she was being held up because I was in bathroom. Without thinking, I said, Sorry about that. I didn't expect you to use your broomstick to get downstairs so fast. Apparently, it made her giggle most of the day, but didn't admit it until this evening. A man crosses the border each morning on a donkey, and each day, his donkey is loaded with only bags of straw. When he reaches the bridge marking the border, the tax collectors search his bags to calculate what duty he must pay on his exports. Every day they find nothing, and yet, in the evening, after their shift has finished and they are in the tea houses or restaurants in the city, they see the same man spending lots of money and boasting that he is in fact a smuggler and that no one can catch him. Every day, incensed at his bold claims, the tax collectors obsessively search his bags of straw. They sift the straw, cut it into pieces, rip open the fabric of his bags, attempt to burn the straw, check his hat, his beard, and even cut open his shoes in the hope of finding coins between the leather. And yet, each evening, he is seen back in the city growing ever more prosperous and ever more brazen, even offering to pay for the tax collectors meals and drinks while continuing to tell stories of his wily smuggling. The tax collectors continue their futile interrogations of the straw bags for years, to no avail. This continues until, now a prosperous man, the smuggler moves away to another city and settles down to enjoy his wealth. Years pass, and one day, in the market, one of the retired tax collectors meets his old foe and asks, "Mister, many years have passed. I am no longer a tax collector, and we are just two old men. Please, you can tell me, what was it you were smuggling all that time?" The smuggler replied, "Donkeys." An attractive young woman on a flight from Ireland asked the priest beside her, "Father, may I ask a favour?" "Of course, child. What may I do for you?" "Well, I bought my mother an expensive hairdryer for her birthday. It is unopened but well over the customs limits, and I'm afraid they'll confiscate it. Is there any way you could carry it through customs for me? Hide it under your robes, perhaps?" "I would love to help you, dear, but I must warn you, I will not lie." "With your honest face, father, no one will question you," she replied it. When they got to customs, she let the priest go first. The official asked, "Father, do you have anything to declare?" "From the top of my head down to my waist, I have nothing to declare." The official thought this answer strange was, so asked, "And what do you have to declare from your waist to the floor?" Father replied, "I have a marvellous instrument designed to be used on a woman, which is to date unused." Roaring with laughter, the official said, "Go ahead, father, next, please." Tarzan had been living alone in his jungle kingdom for 30 years with only apes for company, and suitably shaped holes in trees for self-satisfaction. Jane, a reporter, came to Africa in search of this legendary figure. Deep in the wilds, she came to a clearing and discovered Tarzan vigorously thrusting into a jungle oak. She watched in awe for a while. Finally, overcome by this display of animal passion, Jane came out into the open and offered herself to him. As she reclined on the wild grass, Tarzan ran up to her and gave her a big kick in the crotch. In pain, she screamed, "What the hell did you do that for?" Tarzan replied, "Always check for squirrels." A man got lost in the woods as night fell. Just when he thought he was doomed, he stumbled upon a small cabin and knocked on the door. An old Chinese man answered. "Sir, I'm lost and need a place to stay," the man said. The old man nodded. "You may stay, but one rule, do not touch my daughter. If you do, you will suffer the 3 worst Chinese tortures known to man." The man agreed. Then, at dinner, the daughter appeared, and she was stunning, gorgeous, the kind of beauty that makes a man forget every promise he ever made. So later that night, he snuck into her room. The next morning, he woke up with a massive rock on his chest. A note on it read, "Chinese torture #1, rock on chest." The man laughed. "This is nothing." He picked up the rock and threw it out the window. As he did, another note stuck to his chest read, "Chinese torture #2, rock tied to right testicle." Panic set in. Thinking fast, he decided to jump out the window. Better a few broken bones than, you know. As he fell, he saw a sign nailed to the ground below. Chinese torture #3. Left testicle tied to bedpost. A mechanic was working on removing a cylinder head from a Harley motorcycle engine when he noticed a well-known cardiologist waiting in his shop. The cardiologist was there for a consultation with the service manager about his bike, but the mechanic, spotting him, called out, "Hey doc, wanna take a look at this?" Surprised, the cardiologist walked over to the mechanic's work area. The mechanic stood up, wiped his hands on a rag and asked, "So doc, check this out. I open up the engine, take out the valves, fix them if they're damaged, and put everything back together. When I'm done, it runs just like new. So tell me, why do I make $39,675 a year, while you rake in $1,695,759, even though we're basically doing the same thing?" The cardiologist paused, smiled, leaned in, and whispered, "Try doing it with the engine running." A guy texts his next-door neighbor, "Bob, I'm so sorry, but I can't live with the guilt any longer. I've been helping myself to your wife when you're not around. Probably more than you. I know it's no excuse, but I just don't get it at home. I hope you can forgive me. It won't happen again." Bob sees the message. His face turns red. His hands shake. Without a second thought, he storms into the bedroom, grabs his gun, and, well, let's just say it doesn't end well for Mrs. Bob. Then another text pops up. "Damn autocorrect. I meant Wi-Fi." A doctor was having an affair with his nurse. A few months later, she broke the news. She was pregnant. Not wanting his wife to find out, he handed the nurse a stack of cash and told her, "Go to Italy and have the baby there. When it's born, just send me a postcard with the word spaghetti. I'll handle everything." With no better option, she took the money and flew to Italy. 6 months later, the doctor's wife called him at work. "Honey, you got a very strange postcard from Europe. I have no idea what it means." Trying to stay calm, he said, "Just wait till I get home. I'll explain everything." That evening, he walked in, grabbed the postcard, read it, and dropped to the floor with a heart attack. Paramedics rushed in, and one medic stayed behind to comfort the wife, so shh. "Do you know what might have caused this?" he asked. The wife, still confused, handed him the postcard. It read, "Spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti. 2 with sausage and meatballs, 2 without." "Daddy, how was I born?" the little one asked. The father sighed. "Well, son, I guess you're going to find out someday." He leaned back and started. "Your mom and I first met in a Yahoo chat room. Then we set up a date through email and met at a cyber cafe. We found a secluded room and Googled each other. Then your mom agreed to a download from my hard drive." He paused dramatically. "Just as I was ready to upload, we realized neither of us had used a firewall. And by the time we tried to hit the delete button, it was too late." The dad smiled. 9 months later, a little pop-up appeared and said, "You've got mail. Save a lady to come clean my house and do it right. I don't like speaking badly about anyone, but the lady I currently have, well, let's just say she's always tired, gets distracted, and I've caught her slacking on the job. When it comes to laundry, she takes days because she forgets to take it out of the washer and has to keep re-washing it. Ironing? Nope. She's not touching that. Instead, she tosses everything in the dryer. And don't even get me started on cleaning. She's always looking for snacks and works so slowly, like at a snail's pace. She moves from room to room without finishing any of the tasks she starts. BTW, that lady is me. I thought it was too funny not to share. I hope it made you smile or at least laugh a little. During a lesson on good manners, a teacher asked her students, Michael, if you were on a dinner date with a lovely young lady, how would you politely tell her you need to use the restroom? Michael shrugged. Easy. I'd say, hang on, I gotta go pee. The teacher gasped. Michael, that's rude. Peter, what about you? Peter thought for a moment. I'd say, I'm sorry, but I really need to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. The teacher sighed. Better, but still not very polite. And you, little Johnny, can you actually use your brain and show us some good manners? Johnny smirked. Of course, miss. I'd say, darling, may I please be excused? I need to shake hands with a very dear friend of mine, and I hope to introduce you to him after dinner. The teacher hit the floor. Moral of the story. Never ask Johnny anything. A married man was visiting his girlfriend when she requested that he shave his beard. Oh, James, I like your beard, but I would really love to see your handsome face. James replied, My wife loves this beard. I couldn't possibly do it. She would kill me. Oh, please? The girlfriend asked again, in a cute little voice. Really, I can't, he replied. My wife loves this beard, the girlfriend asked once more. He sighed and finally gave in. That night, James crawled into bed next to his wife while she was sleeping. The wife was awakened, turned toward him, felt his face and said, Oh, Michael, you shouldn't be here. My husband will be home soon.